Hi everyone, it's Professor Todd with the second video of our Annotated Bibliography series. In this video, we will be discussing the bibliographic paragraphs or the annotations for your citations in your bibliography. So underneath each source, you will notice that we have what is called a bibliographic paragraph or an annotation. Those two words are used interchangeably. So if you see any of your assignments that refer to annotations or bibliographic paragraphs, just know that those are the same things. In Canvas, I've provided you with a handout titled Writing Bibliographic Paragraphs that breaks down what is needed in each of your annotations on this bibliography. So I just want to go through those three key components and look at how those are done in the sample annotated bibliography that I've provided you. The first requirement for a bibliographic paragraph is to summarize the source, and there are a couple different components of that summary. The first thing that you want to do is sort of introduce the author and the type of source that you are working with. So you'll see here in this first sentence of our bibliographic paragraph, Ken Adams, a professor of psychology at the University of California, Berkeley, asserts in this scholarly article from a peer-reviewed journal that there are several common indicators of unhappiness in college students. So this just provides a brief introduction to the author and the type of source that we're looking at. Additionally, you want to establish the credibility of your author or source in your annotation, and this is done in this annotation by providing the author's credentials, by listing Ken Adams as a professor of psychology at the University of California, Berkeley. The student has established him as a credible or authoritative source. So once you've identified the source type and established the credibility, you want to summarize sort of the main idea, central focus, or key findings of the source. This is probably going to make up the majority of your summary, and you can see that that's done here. Adams and his team of researchers polled over 1,000 university students and asked them to self-report their happiness levels, as well as answer a series of questions about their personal behavior. Adams and his team found that over 75% of students reported happiness levels below 5 on a 1 to 10 scale, and among those students there were several common behaviors that may contribute to their unhappiness: lack of sleep, lack of social connections, and self-reported time famine. So this is just a general overview of kind of this central finding or key summary of what his study concluded. Then the next part of your annotation should be the evaluation section. This is where you will just briefly evaluate the source for currency, relevance, depth, scope, bias, perspective, purpose, etc. I want to make a quick note here about bias. Just because a source has bias or is biased does not make the source not credible. It does not preclude credibility. So you can have a source that shows bias that is still a credible source. You will just need to establish how that source is credible. For instance, if you were writing a paper about animal rights and you wanted to cite the organization PETA. PETA is a credible source on the topic of animal cruelty and animal rights, but they do come with some bias. So you could present that source as one perspective on the topic and on the issue, but you would just need to acknowledge that that perspective does have bias, and you would need to situate that within your argument. So I just wanted to note that claiming that a source has bias does not necessarily mean that it is no longer credible. So in this evaluation portion, the student says, I found the research in this article to be thorough and compelling. Adams is a credible source given his credentials as a professor, and the article contains sufficient research to support his claims. And then finally, the third component to your annotation would be explaining the usefulness of this source. How will this source be useful to you in your persuasive project? That is, as you are writing your persuasive essay and or crafting your infographic, how will you be able to use this source? And this student says, this article will be useful to my project because it will serve to both provide data on student unhappiness as well as expert opinion. I plan on using this as a supporting article in my persuasive essay. So those are sort of the key components to an annotated bibliography. You will notice that this annotation is, about probably a full paragraph in length. You want to have your annotations be no less than about 150 to 200 words. I would try to keep them under about 300. If they start getting much longer than that, I think you would probably need to scale them back. There's no maximum word length, but I think that that's between 200 and 300 words is kind of a good rule of thumb. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. If you haven't done so already, please watch the video before this, which is the MLA formatting of the bibliography and the citations. So that way that you have both components to this annotated bibliography assignment. Hope this video was helpful. Take care.